Hey guys, how's it going? It's Rob Sutton back here with another video, and today we are actually going to be talking about this guy right here, the Google Pixel 4 XL. I've been using it since the launch date. Google actually sent me out a copy for review. We're going to go over a little bit about the usability of the phone, but what I really want to focus on with this video is actually the cameras and how they compare with my daily driver right now, the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Let's get at it. Alright guys, I'm going to try to keep this portion of the video pretty short so we can get straight to the pictures. Here are the specs of the Google Pixel 4 XL. This is the white version with the retail price of $799. So real quick, just a couple usability things with this phone. One, they did get rid of the notch, now in favor of this really large forehead with a smaller chin. I'm not gonna lie, the OCD in me hates the unbalancedness of this phone. We've really gotten used to the look of a notch or at least very minimal chin. So when you see that really big one at the top and a very small one at the bottom, it can kind of drive you crazy a little bit. Two, they introduced the radar with this phone. They're supposed to give you a lot better face detection for unlocking. I found that it's almost too good. There have been times when I've been getting out of the truck or I've just been sitting around trying to, just handle the phone on its own, and it'll catch a glimpse of my face and unlock when I don't want it to. And it's caused some phantom pressing on the screen just because I just didn't know it was actually unlocked. So while it is cool that they're able to do it and make it that fast, because I do find the face unlock faster than it is on the iPhone, it's almost just too sensitive. I really wish it wouldn't. Like right now when I'm just sitting here talking like this, it's unlocking and locking back and forth. So another thing, they gave this phone a 90 hertz refresh rate, which if you come from Apple and you're used to just the regular refresh rates we've had for years, going to 90 hertz is a pretty big deal. Unfortunately, it's not full-time 90 hertz, it's variable. So in order to actually have 90 hertz the entire time, you have to open up your developer settings and actually lock it at 90 hertz. Unfortunately, when you do that, the battery life really takes a dive. So it wasn't able to make it through the entire day like it was on the variable. However, the 90 hertz and that screen do look really good when it's up and running. So another thing I noticed with this phone is they got crazy aggressive with the rounding of the screen around the edges. So if you notice, like when I open up Lightroom, at the bottom of the display, it actually almost cuts into the icons for the editing. Makes for a really awkward looking layout. I don't know why they went so aggressive on the radius at the top of the bottom of the screen, but with certain applications it can actually cut things off. So one of the things I do like about this phone, and I've liked about all Pixel phones, that it is the purest form of Android that you can get. I typically don't like the skins that Samsung and other manufacturers put on top of Android. It tends to slow it down and you don't get updates as fast. So with the Google Pixel, you do get updates instantly and you get the purest form of Android, which seems to run the smoothest and have the least amount of issues. What I was a little bit surprised by with this phone though is the $799 price point. Typically Pixels have been known to be a discount over other Android phones with high specs, so it's been a great value. Now you can get an iPhone 11 for less than a Google Pixel, which was really unexpected given the specs of the processor and other aspects of the phone. All right guys, let's get into some of the images that I took. First, we're gonna look at the shoot I did of the M3 in the parking deck. We're gonna take a look at a profile shot and a 3/4 shot. What you're gonna see here is that the iPhone is on the left and the Pixel's on the right. So what I'm noticing with these images are some trends. If you look at the comparison images between the iPhone and the Pixel 4, the Pixel 4 seems to want to add more contrast and sharpening. You can really notice it in the cement in front of the car or in the cement wall that has the bubbles on it. It really brings out more sharpness and you can see the contrast between the individual lines, where the iPhone tends to have a little bit more natural look to it. Also, since this is a blue car, the white balance of these images has been thrown off one way or another. Where the iPhone looked a little bit cooler on the cement wall side and warmer on the 3/4 image, the Pixel actually flipped that, so it was a little bit different. Also, what's really amazing about these images is when you go to the sky picture on the 3/4, you actually get the sky in full exposure along with the shadows of the car. That is because of the machine learning and bracketing that the software is doing within each of the phones to get you an HDR-like image that still looks natural. In comparison, if you look at this out of my Sony a7 III, while the Sony a7 III has a lot more resolution and detail, as it should have a multi-$1,000 camera, you have to do a lot more to bring the highlights of the sky back down to try to get that full range out of the image. So I thought that sky picture was actually a great example of how these phones have gotten so advanced in the machine learning and software that you're actually able to get a full dynamic range image out of one click on your phone, which you might have to do a little bit more work to get that out of a more expensive camera. Now let's go ahead and jump into portrait mode. One thing I did notice, and I have noticed with the Google Pixel 3a when I did that review, is Google really does a better job with software when it comes to portrait mode, trying to find the correct edges. It also provides you with the ability to change where that focus point was during the editing process on your phone. That is not something the iPhone's able to do. So in this first image where you see the picture of the beard, which by the way, that one from Creature Comforts is pretty awesome, out of Athens, Georgia, if you get a chance to check it out, is that the iPhone has a really hard time finding the edge of the glass. I do these glass pictures because one, people like to take a picture of their drinks all the time, and two, because that is a very hard case for these portrait modes that are doing it by software. With the Google Pixel, you can actually change that focus point to the edge of the glass where you can't on the iPhone, and the iPhone loses some of that detail. You'll see it also when we head over to the pumpkin picture. If you look at the stem on the iPhone, it doesn't do as well as it does on the Pixel. The Pixel seems to do a better job of finding that edge and creating the separation. Overall, the Google Pixel does a better job with portrait mode. I saw this with the 3a, I'm seeing it again with the Pixel 4. The iPhone still needs to catch up a little bit, but where the iPhone does get a leg up on the Pixel 4 this time around is that you get two different focal lengths with the iPhone where you only get one with the Google Pixel. So where I used to have to step forward and back a lot to try to get it in frame with the iPhone, you don't have that anymore. You actually have a wide angle portrait mode, which is a nice feature to have. Okay, the last thing I want to go over here is night mode. It's a feature that both of these phones really tried to push over the past couple months, so I thought I'd go ahead and take one image with it to see how it works. One, with the iPhone, it's done automatically. You don't have to go to a separate mode, but with the Pixel, you do have to go into a separate night mode to make it work. So let's take a look at this image of my son after we carved the pumpkin. One, this was really dark. So it did a great job of getting what I call a usable image for social media. Basically, if you're wanting to post this on Facebook or Instagram, it's probably just fine, but you'll notice that the color balance is off and the details can get a little bit murky. I also had to make sure that my son wasn't moving his hands at all during the images, because when it takes that one still image plus several other long exposure images and blends them together, a lot of times you'll get blurriness on the edges on anything that's moving. All right guys, so what do I think about the Google Pixel 4 XL? Honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed. One, the design changes they made don't make a lot of sense. The over-aggressive rounding on the screen, the really high forehead, the over-aggressive face recognition with, the new hardware they added really doesn't add any value to the phone for me and actually looks like more of a step back than a step forward. But what really actually disappoints me the most is one, while it's still close to a class-leading camera, the Google Pixel used to be that phone that blew away the competition at a lesser price. They actually brought a lot of value to the market instead of being one of the class leaders when it came to price as well. With this latest release of the Google Pixel 4, they really went away from that. They also went away from giving you full resolution, unlimited storage in Google Photos, and several other value propositions that actually came along with this phone that you used to get by buying it. As far as the images go between these two phones, they're both great. I personally like the more natural look of the iPhone. It seems to be a little bit less aggressive on the software end as far as editing goes, but honestly, if you're gonna take them into any editing software, you can kind of balance out the two. It's really amazing to me how great of an image we can get out of a phone these days, but it is really depending on lighting and conditions. As you can see, those M3 shots came out great, and I would argue there are a lot of people that probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two or even against my Sony. So basically, guys, I'm having a really hard time recommending this phone. Now, if you were one of those die-hard Android guys, and you know who you are, that love Pixels because it's just the cleanest version of Android you can get, you're going to love this phone regardless, but you are going to find certain things that don't feel as pixel as they used to in the past. Hey guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, you can go ahead and hit that thumbs down as well, but be sure to like and subscribe. There'll be more videos here in the future, and until then, thank you, and on to the next one.